So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about why Dan Peña's QLA model is not just about making money. And if you're not familiar with Dan Peña's QLA model, it's a seminar that I attended with my mentor, Dan Peña, that teaches you how to acquire companies and create wealth. So it's a wealth creation seminar, and the approach and strategy is to acquire profitable companies, multi-million dollar companies. So if you don't know who I am an entrepreneur and I founded a healthcare investment company in UAE. And after going to Dan Peña's Castle seminar, and I've attended two of them, and both of them costed me 20,000 pounds. After that, I went to Dubai and I structured a partnership with a $3.5 billion company CEO within 10 days of arriving the country. And I didn't have any contacts and I had very little money, but I was able to structure partnerships with some of the top lawyers, accounting and finance professionals in some of the largest accounting and law firms in the world. In addition to that, I managed to get two of the healthcare CEOs, big healthcare CEOs, to be my business partners. I negotiated with all the 26 banks in the region and met all the biggest bankers who finance $600 million plus deals. And the lawyer that was representing me had advised on a $13 billion bank merger. So that's the caliber of people that I've been around. So this information is based on that. This is the reason I shared this background, so you understand where I'm coming from, and so that there's credibility to the information, because you can just read a book and talk. So I just wanted to provide that background for this video. And I want to list out some reasons. I've written about 13 or 15 of them, and we'll go one by one, that why this model is not just about making money. Because it's very easy to perceive it as, oh, this is just about hoarding gobs of cash. Yes, that's the primary motive, is to create wealth, but how exactly is wealth created? It's important to go deeper into that process, because it's not just about getting a financial transaction orchestrated. It's not just about giving, somebody your bank details and then they, transfer hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not what happens. What happens is that you have to engage in a process of value creation. Before the money came in, what was the value that went out? Money is never independent of goods and services. Money is never independent of value. So there is something that you have, that you had to build, that you had to create, that you can trade with somebody in exchange for money. So you'll almost never receive money and nothing goes out. Okay, so what has to go out in exchange for money has to be value. And to create value, you have to bring people together, highest level of people, highest level of experience, and you have to produce the highest level of products and services, and you have to trade that with a very big market. And then the market rewards you with money. And then you can sell the company, make a bunch of money. But you never will make money without first creating value. So it's important to understand that wealth creation is about value creation. And to create value, you have to first become valuable. And when you become valuable, you have self-esteem. So I said a lot of things here, and I'll break down step by step. So number one, I understood early on in life that the quality of life depends on the type of people that you're surrounded yourself with. Would you agree that your quality of life largely depends on not the concrete wall that is around you or a car or something else, but the kind of people that you're surrounded with? So where are all the productive people surrounded? Around what aspect of life are the most productive people surrounded, congregated around? And it's typically around the area of business and finance. You'll find some of the most finest, most intellectual people around money. around business. You also find a lot of criminals, but I'm not talking about criminal activities. I'm talking about the business environment. You'll have some of the finest minds in um, in the corporate world around money, around business. So I wondered long ago that why is it that somebody like Donald Trump or somebody who's extremely rich is still working? I thought the whole point of making money was to retire. And then I realized when I was in Bali, I didn't have a holiday in many, many years. I was just working and talking to a lot of great people. And then I sat down on a beach and I started talking to this Moroccan beautiful girl, and she started to tell me about. She asked me a question whether which was more dominant in me, Shiva or Shakti, masculine or feminine. And I was like, come on, this is not the conversation I want to have. What difference does it make? I didn't understand, what she was trying to imply. Um, and I, at that point, thought that I'm here for a holiday because I was looking for a release. But I'd rather be sitting next to a $3.5 billion company CEO and talking about doing multi-million dollar deals. I'd rather choose that instead of sitting on the beach and having this pointless conversation, you know. So that's really something that I understood, is that these people who make a lot of money, they continue to work because they want to be around good people and powerful people. And these people are not doing nothing. These people are always creating something. These are creators. So you get to be around creators. You get to be around intellectual people. And the bigger the number that you're targeting, the more intellectual people that you're going to meet. So the bigger the ticket size, the finer the people. Look at Elon Musk. He's the richest man in the world, and you can argue that he's one of the finest minds in the world. If you want to meet Elon, he's not sitting on a beach. He's sitting on some conference table, either raising capital or promoting his car or building a car. So you have to find, if you want to network with him, you have to find yourself in his ecosystem. I met over 400 multi-million dollar companies, met and spoke to, and almost all of them were millionaires. And I only thought about that a little bit later, that wait a second, without even making an effort to network, I'm able to meet multi-millionaires because they just happen to be part of my business activities. So it's an important thing to realize that the quality of life is determined by the people you have around, and some of the finest people are around business. Because whoever is valuable, whoever is somebody in the world, is typically trading what they have in exchange for money. So if you're around money, you'll meet a lot of great people. And you can see this when you go to a nice fine dine restaurant. You will see everybody's very polished and good looking and all of that, valuable. So that's an important factor, is who you will meet, who you will surround yourself with. I would not have met one of the top lawyers in UAE if I didn't have a project that was big enough. I would not have been able to attract a $3.5 billion company CEO if I didn't have a project that's big enough. So it's not just about making the money, it's also around being around powerful and highly sophisticated people. And you are and you become who you hang around with. So while being around these people, I started to absorb their character traits. I started to absorb their communication style, their technical language capabilities, their thought process, their risk analysis framework. I started to learn things extremely quickly, how they were so productive, how they were able to create a lot of value. And you're creating an alliance of highly intellectual people. So that's a big factor. Number two, to network with such people and to create value, you have to get good at communication. So you're building communication skills. I would not have built the communication skills that I have if I didn't do hundreds and hundreds of presentations. I had to develop communication skills because I had to sell an idea. I had to facilitate a lot of agreements. I had to get agreements from bankers, from sellers' wife, from sellers' children, and a whole range of things. I had to manage the board. I had to talk to bankers, law firms. I had to educate myself on business vocabulary, which I had no idea what it is. So I had to read some books. I had to develop abilities. I had to develop communication skills to be able to do this. And this is something, again, goes back to value creation. To create value, you have to become valuable. You're not going to create value without becoming valuable. So to make money, you have to create value. To create value, you have to become valuable. So wealth creation is also about becoming valuable. And how do you source that value? How do you become valuable? You associate yourself by experienced professionals, who are also valuable, and you rub shoulders with them. And then by association, you gain a lot of value. So it's also about that. Next is high performance. Your performance in life is determined by what you're performing at, what you're doing, and the project that you're associated with. So performance is going to be dependent on the size and scale of your project. If you're going for the Olympics, you'll have to perform at the top level. Otherwise, you're not going to get selected. Just like that, if I'm dealing with multi-million dollar transactions, then I have to perform at a very high level. I can't be dressed up in a t-shirt. I have to wear a nice three-piece suit. I have to go to a certain venue that may be uncomfortable psychologically. $1 million deals are not straightforward. They have complications. So I have to educate myself in those complications. I have to be able to perform. I have to be able to be on time. If I'm not on time, I show that I'm not in control of my life. I mean, there are so many factors and so many abilities I have to develop, and I have to perform at a totally different level. I have to develop leadership capabilities, communication capabilities. So there is a whole aspect of performance. And the reason this happens is because you have a big project. That's the reason. If you don't have a big project, you wouldn't perform. If you could just move your fingers and get money, then you wouldn't really push yourself in a big way. So high performance is another reason. Next is fears. You get rid of a lot of your fears. I was afraid of money. I was afraid of big money. I was afraid of borrowing money. I was afraid of legal documents. I was afraid of guys with gray hair. I was afraid of anybody who wore a suit. These were my personal insecurities or financial insecurities, psychological insecurities that maybe I inherited from my family, maybe inherited from my childhood. I got to break a lot of those. Every time I did a presentation I run towards my fear instead of running away from it. I got to look at fear dead in the eye, and I got to dissolve those fears. I understood that those fears are psychological. People are not scary. Situations aren't scary. Transactions aren't scary. And even if they are, I can handle it. I can develop capabilities to handle it. I can find people who have handled it. I can learn from them, develop abilities and handle it. So you develop a sense of power when you conquer fear. And you will have a lot of fears around big ticket, anything above $1 million, $10 million, even $100,000. People can have big fears associated with those numbers and the activities that produce those numbers. So you get to expand your horizon. You get to exploit your capabilities and access your mind. Most people live in their comfort zone, and comfort zone has a boundary which typically exists in fear. Every time you break your fear and do something outside of your comfort zone, you're breaking your comfort zone, expanding your means, and you're conquering your fear and enhancing your ability, coming back to becoming more and more valuable. You can't create value unless you become more valuable. To become valuable, you have to get rid of fears. You have to develop your capabilities. Next, when you break these barriers, when you do something you haven't done before, when you do something that none of your family members have done before, and none of my family members have been able to structure a business partnership with billion-dollar company CEOs. So when I did that, I have a sense of accomplishment. I have a reason to feel good about myself. And when I accomplish things, I feel good about myself, and that's self-esteem. I have power. I have a place to stand. I feel that I have something to say, and I want to show up more because I feel good about myself. And the more I show up, the more accomplishments I have, the better I feel. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where you gain self-esteem through accomplishments. So self-esteem is another big aspect of it. And that trickles down to many areas of your life. Um, I remember if I would see much earlier, if I would see a really beautiful woman, dressed up in nice LV jacket or Gucci jacket, and I would see these women in Dubai, I would, if I have to be honest, I would feel scared of them, and I would feel that I don't deserve them. And something happened when I closed the billion-dollar company CEO. I went to Zuma, which is a prominent restaurant or a lounge in UAE, and there was a really beautiful woman. I looked at her, and there was no longer fear because I felt good about who I am. I was wearing a suit, and I introduced myself, and she asked me, "What do you do?" And I had something to say, and it completely changed my relationship with myself, and that's what is self-esteem. And she could feel it. And self-esteem cannot be faked. You can't, a lot, you met those people who have a fake front. That's not self-esteem, that's faking it. But when you have real accomplishments, you have self-esteem, you're grounded. As I said, you have a place to stand. So self-esteem is a big aspect of it. You change the way you see yourself, and how you look at the world changes, and how the world sees you also changes with everything. So self-esteem is a big thing. Achievements, this is again linked to what I said. It's also about accomplishment. Again, making money is linked with value. To create value, you have to solve a lot of problems. As you're solving problems, you are enhancing your creative abilities. And you're going into the problem and you're solving something. And when you solve something, a nasty problem that nobody else was able to solve, you have accomplishments. And again, it feeds off into the value, skills, self-esteem. So you're achieving things. And it's not just one big achievement. There are series of mini achievements that happen during the day, and you feel great about yourself. Number 7, high impact leadership. This model puts you in a major shareholder position. You're a founder and a managing director in a company. You have high-powered individuals around you. You have massive capabilities. When you have a top lawyer, top accountant, top financial professional, top CEOs, and I'm not just saying top from a subjective standpoint, I'm saying top from an objective standpoint. When I say top lawyer, I'm saying a top lawyer within the top 5 international law firms in the whole world. When I say top accountant, I'm talking about the 4 biggest accounting firms, and within that, the senior most position. So when I say top, I mean in a objective sense. No, it's not my opinion. It's actually a fact. So when you have these people, you have massive capability to expand. You can open up doors that you wouldn't be able to open up on your own. So, and you're the major shareholder, and these people are backing you up. So that's a high impact leadership. Everything you do in that position has a chain reaction, has an effect, has a massive effect. The moment you put yourself in that position where you have these people on your team, you can raise capital, massive amounts of capital. People are going to trust you. You have massive credibility. Everything you say matters. What I say at a board meeting has an effect. It gets documented. What I say to a bank has an effect. You're no longer in an inconsequential position. When you're hanging around your friends, the effect of what you speak, it may not be that great. But when you're a founder of a company, when you're a major shareholder of a company, and you're focused on doing big deals, then everything you say matters. How you're perceived is matters. So you're in a position of power, and that's, I think, something extremely valuable. So next is power and position. So as I said, you're going to be the major shareholder of your company, and you have control over the company. Most of the projects that people work at, they don't have any control over it. They don't have all the decisions in their control. Somebody else decides a lot of the things, and maybe they're playing a small role in a big company. Here, you get to play the lead role. It's like being a lead in a movie, and you get to control the decisions. So you could get to control the outcomes at a very high level. So that's a position of power. So it's also about the power that you have to control the outcome and to control the direction of the company, because you are the major shareholder. So this is another aspect that may make you like the project, is because you're in charge, you're in control. Most of the time, why people don't like what they're doing is because they don't have any control. A lot of the times you create something, somebody else takes credit for it. You don't have ownership in what you create, and you don't get to reap the benefits of what you create. Here, you're the major shareholder, you get to reap the benefits of what you're creating. Next is intellectual power. As I was mentioning, when you bring powerful people together, you have massive amounts of intellectual power. I cannot study law for 30 years, but if I have a lawyer who has experience in 30 years, by my relationship with this lawyer, I have access to 30 years of experience in law. I have access to 30 years of experience in accounting, finance, healthcare operations. Any of these skills would have taken me 30 years each to develop. But when you have people around you with massive capabilities, those capabilities you have access to. So by your relationship with them, you have those capabilities because your company has those capabilities. So it's a tremendous intellectual power. I talk about your biggest liability being ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. And there's so much to know that you can't possibly know everything yourself. So when you build relationships with people who do know, you bring that knowledge into your ecosystem, and you are banishing or reducing your biggest liability, which is ignorance. So intellectual power is another factor. Next is financial power. All of this results in financial power. And what does financial power give you? Power to get more intellectual power. And you can have a tremendous amount of control on outcomes. You can facilitate cooperation because you have money. You can bring people together, meaning you have the power to manifest your ideas. You have a power to make your ideas into reality. Elon Musk, as capable as he is intellectually, he would not have been able to make his ideas a reality if he didn't have the ability to bring people together. And the reason he had the ability to bring people together is because he had money from PayPal, and he raised more money to create SpaceX and Tesla. So a big part of what he was able to do and to manifest his ideas was because he had money. So financial power is a big power, and it goes beyond buying cars and houses. Next is dealing with big numbers makes you big. So when you're dealing with something big in size, you have to expand yourself. It's not going to happen. And this again ties up to the value creation, is you have to become big. There is no way you're not going to develop a big personality if you're dealing with big numbers. If you're dealing with big numbers, for sure, you're going to develop a big personality. And you can see this transition happening with Elon Musk. When he was earlier in his career, he had a certain character, and now it's totally different. And many people who dealt with bigger and bigger numbers and they kept expanding their means, their personality and character changed. Their mindset changed. Their whole sense of being and presence changed when they started dealing with bigger and bigger numbers. And you can even see this even with Dan Peña, my mentor. There is a clip of his 40th birthday, and he was extremely thin, um, you know, and and not that alpha. I don't want to say he was an alpha, but he's far more alpha right now, and he's a far bigger presence right now. Of course, he has a lot more money right now, and that also comes with the big numbers, focused on big numbers. So that's another aspect of it. Fulfilling your potential, and again, this again goes back to the value creation. You're fulfilling your potential. You're developing abilities that you don't have. So to fulfill a certain project, you will notice the bigger the project, the more abilities you need, and the more skills you'll have to develop. As you're developing skills, you're fulfilling your potential. If you're working on a small project, you may not need to use your full potential. You can use 5% of your potential and you can get the result if it's a small thing that you need to accomplish. You're not going to spend a lot of energy making a sandwich, but you're going to spend a tremendous amount of energy trying to create $1 billion company. Even if you don't make it, you will spend so much of your potential trying to create value and becoming valuable. You may have to develop communication skills, leadership skills, learn how to read financial statements, understand financial terms, understand how to lead people, understand how to network, understand how to raise capital, find businesses, analyze businesses, negotiate deals, facilitate agreements. I had to learn all of these things. There is no way I would have learned these things if I wasn't focused on a big project, because I saw pretty quickly when I created the vision that I don't have the abilities to do this. I'll have to develop the abilities, a lot of the abilities, and I have to bring people with massive abilities also. So it wasn't just about me. I have to bring powerful people. I have to bring people with bigger capital and bigger resources. And who are the people who have a lot of resources? People who also have abilities and who also have capabilities. That's why they have the big resources, because they're valuable. So there's so much of value here. When you deal with big numbers, you're dealing with the most intellectual minds, the most capable individuals on the planet. And that enhances your experience of life. So you see, this is not just about making money, buying cars and buying houses. This is far more than that. This is becoming all you can be, you know. And then finally, your image about yourself. When you wake up in the morning, you dress up in a suit. I remember I would wake up a little bit grumpy, and I was used to waking up being a person who is not important, being a person who is not needed, being a person who is not valued. I was too used to it. But once I formed this company and I brought these people together, hold on, now I'm the founder of a company. I'm a managing director. These people depend on me. My word matters. I matter. Everything I do matters. I woke up today and every hour of my day matters. I have to create value. I have to solve problems. I have to deliver, and because of that, I have to carry myself in a certain way. I can't be dressed in a stupid manner. I have to dress up properly. I have to go to certain places. I have to do certain things. I have to structure my day. I have to remove, worthless people out of my life. I have to associate myself with valuable people. I have to raise capital. I have to go meet the seller. To meet the seller, I have to dress up in a suit. You see yourself in the mirror and your view of yourself changes, and all of a sudden you're somebody who's up to something. You're somebody who's creating value. You're somebody important. And your view of yourself totally changes. So I hope I was able to create the picture that this is not just about collecting checks. This is way beyond that. This is not just about wealth creation is not just about collecting checks. It's about becoming valuable. It's about creating value. And it's about associating with some of the most capable and valuable people on the planet and using their expertise and experience to synthesize and create something that the world wants. And that is what wealth creation is about. That is why Dan Peña's QLA model goes way above making just money. Although that's also a fun part of it, but that's just a part of it. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get mentored by me, I'm taking on clients. I have some space available. Reach out to me. I'm going to leave my email and my social media profiles for you to reach out to me. Message me, and I'll talk to you soon.